Hello, this is Culture in Exile. I'm your host, The Exile. And so, video number 4 today. Let's see if I can keep my tangled thoughts together. So, what are some. I touched briefly on how the literary world was changing. We have now the big three publishing houses that decide almost everything that gets published officially in the literary world. Kind of like, how we only have Disney, Universal, and Sony in charge of the movie industry. Yeah, that's gonna be fun. Anyway, that's all we have. So people are going to go, well, there's the independent market. Yes, the independent market is, oh god, the independent market has changed things remarkably, and a lot of the publishers haven't caught up to how the literary world's changed in the last 5-10 years. So let's start off with what the biggest change the independent market has done. There's now a lot more writers that can get published. I'm a self-published author. No, I'm not going to tell you my book because I'm not going to shill. Maybe I will, but I'm not going to at the moment. It's opened a floodgate on the creativity of people, but unfortunately, this is also substantially lower the bar of works that are getting published, both officially and unofficially. Because when anybody can get published, really, they have the couple $100 for a cover art, a couple thousand for a proof editor, and so on. Oh boy, it's so you get a lot of slush. I call them slush books. But besides the slush books, one of the major things that has changed in the literary world with independent publishing was the growth of completely new genres that the old publishing houses just weren't interested in. What were those genres? Well, we had the lit RPG genres. These are books like, God, I could think of a dozen right now. Basically, go on Amazon, Google, type up lit RPG. You will find a lot. Basically, there are books about people either in a game, trapped in a game, or game characters in a game. They're usually fantasy themed, have other elements in there, but a lot of times they're pretty good actually. If you can swallow a hit listening to stats. And I know that can sound boring, but is it really? I mean, you get all the process of video game storylines with, say, someone that put on a helmet that made everything seem, look, feel, smell, and touch real. And maybe they're trapped in there, maybe they're not. Dot Hexon really started this. So, but independent publishing's brought that out to the fore. The teleported to another world stories, or isekai. These were a really big thing in Japan, and they still are. And they've kind of made their own market here in the US. It's basically one person's teleport from one world, typically ours, but not always, and transport to another, which is typically fantasy, but not always. And that kind of wish fulfillment. So both lit RPG and isekai transport to another world books are kind of wish fulfillment, but they can be pretty good actually. Then we have the harem genre. Yeah, remember how last time I told you about 50% of the books published in the US were female romance novels? Well, it turns out Japan and other countries which already had healthy harem boys romance books weren't lying. We have a healthy number of pervs here in America who like to think of them, listen to stories about how one guy gets numerous women. A lot of times these have fantasy, lit RPG elements in them. Sometimes they don't. A lot of them don't. Okay, they're, they're pop, they're guy popcorn. Now those are the kind of trash end. I'm gonna push those towards the trash end of the literary world that's opened up. They are very focused on guys, okay, on male readers. But beyond that, you also have the superhero genre. Yeah, there's a whole genre now of books about superheroes. These are books like the YA Kid Sensation, who's about the kid who's the half son of the world's most powerful superhero and who was abandoned by him and raised by his mom and his grandpa. and he's amazingly powerful, and how he's trying to keep and just trying to live through this, live in the shadow of the world's greatest superhero. There is the So Not a Hero book, which is about a former supervillainess. Yes, it's a female hero who goes to jail, comes out the other side, is kind of dragged somewhat reluctantly into being a superhero. It's quite good. Then there is Ray Forging Hephaestus, which is another, which takes the alternate look, a girl who gets out of college and who's dirt poor and thus turns to crime and becomes a supervillain. There's the let's just say there's a long list of books, and they take various, all those times we're watching a comic book and you wish it was the same guy with the same characters, one author. Well, that's what these are, and they go to places that most books don't. Okay, most comic books or comic movies don't. Not all of them are great, but a lot of them tend to be more towards the Dark Knight end of things than, say, Captain Marvel, Superman versus Batman, and if you know what I mean. That's another genre that's really opened up. Another genre that's really opened up is, God, I can't even think straight. What's another genre? Traveling to a different country. That's really come up. Paranormal, romance. Yes, I know I'm going into the female section, and I wish I had, but I did. Section, yes. Thank you, Twilight and Anne Rice, you assholes. You've corrupted my literary world. Or not. But yeah, those are some of the changes that have happened in the literary world. Book world over here for a while because of independent publishing. Another major change that's happened that I'm surprised doesn't get more alert is the openness of foreign books. Go back 10, 20 years ago, and there's very few foreign books released here in the United States. When I say foreign books, I'm not talking the book that gets translated from French, Spanish, German, okay, or books from Mexico or Canada or England. I'm talking about books from Korea, the Koreas, South Korea predominantly, because North Korea is just opening up, Japan, Hong Kong, Hungary, Turkey, China. I believe I've even come across a few from Saudi Arabia. Very good books, okay? They're not all great. They tend to have the same bell curve of quality as American books. But, when you have someone like me, and I read a lot of Japanese fiction, you can tell this is a big competition for Western writers, and it's growing. And a lot of the traditional publishing houses haven't really caught on to this yet. Hope they will soon, because I'd hate for the Western publishing world to die because their people in charge are too fucking stupid to realize, hey, shit's getting published from other countries. But, I don't know. The manga market's been slowly killing the comic book market, and the comic book market's just starting to notice this now when it's too late for them to do anything about it. Yeah, I'm throwing shade at the comic book community. In fact, I think that's what my next video is going to be about. But anyway, this is some of the changes that have come over the literary world in the last 10 years. There's been more people who are probably much more knowledgeable about the insider stuff about this than I am. Oh, I should actually mention this if I have time. Another big market for literature that's opened up lately has been what's called audiobooks. Yeah, I'm an audiobook reader for the most part. I go through about 100 a year, sometimes more, sometimes less. Last year I went through about 200 books. Not bragging and really bragging. Anyway, so you can go through a lot of audiobooks are awesome because you can do a lot of stuff because there's noise in the background. But they can, anyway, audiobooks are there, but also things like LibriVox, which is people who have gone through and volunteered for free to read classic books, post those classic books online on LibriVox.org. Sorry, not .com, .org, for free. So if your teacher says, hey, you got to read this for a lit class, no matter what your level is, there's a good chance it's going to be on LibriVox. And those are the two of the markets that have really changed. I've opened up wider than ever. Audiobooks have been there for, God, I think 40 years now, people have been telling me. But they've really taken off in the last 10, 20. I highly recommend that to everybody. But anyway, my time's running out. Thank you, YouTube. So this has been the Exile, and this is Culture in Exile. Have a good day, guys.